My journey in real estate is a tribute to my dad, and that is a challenge, and that cannot be done by a human. You need technology, you need a team, you need AI.
In sales, your output is 100% dependent on your ability to produce for yourself. Tell me a little bit about real estate. People think real estate is easy. Is it easy?
It is easy, but it's not simple.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. Super excited to have everyone who's listening in, hearing us out today. Welcome to the Asan Real Estate Real Talk podcast. Today, we have a seasoned real estate professional and someone who's really good at building construction and new development properties. I'm talking about Maher Aisha. She's a visionary land developer and a property investment expert who's really dedicated her experience and seasoned expertise to the Windsor-Essex County's real estate market. She's the founder of Ayesha Access Ventures, where she combines extensive experience and really getting carry-on certification approvals to offers investors high return opportunities. I kind of butchered that. I apologize. In land development and property flipping. So if you're really in a real estate space and you're in that market in Southwest Ontario or in the Windsor market, she definitely has a lot of insights to offer. I recommend anybody who's out there in the market looking to get into rehab or investment property or flipping or building communities to reach out to Aisha, who we're going to learn a lot about today. And we're going to get an idea of what it is being a real estate professional in today's market. Welcome to the show, Aisha.
Hi, Usman. Thank you so much for having me in the show. And you're doing great work with us. And I need to tell you that it is a cutting edge avant-garde CRM that we've been waiting. All realtors will be praying. We're praying, and now you have answered their prayers.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the kind words. Those are music to my ears. But for all those that are listening, I'm sure proofs of the pudding. So if we have free offers from time to time, do check it out. But enough about that. I want to bring it back to your expertise. I want to bring it back to listeners, so they can benefit from your real struggles, your real successes, your real talk. So, with that said, tell me a little bit about me. I've given the listeners and the viewers about my spiel about you, but tell me in your own words, what's your journey been like in real estate?
My journey in real estate is a tribute to my dad.
Wow.
Because I'm an engineer by trade, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was growing up, I remember all my Sundays and Saturdays were with my dad going through all his wholesaling properties, all his construction projects, and all the lands that he was trying to vet out. And all my after school time was eavesdropping his negotiation techniques and talks with the other parties.
Right.
And I'm a girl from a very conservative family, so we were not allowed to come out. So I was always listening, because my dad I don't think he knows that too, but he's a very skilled negotiator. He's very cool in his mind when it comes to negotiating. His tone changes, his modality changes, and he understands the numbers within the big picture. Right. So for me, having seen that all my life and working in my trade of engineering, I knew that something had to change. And that's when my journey in the United States started in Salt Lake City with real estate, because I was not feeding my passion. And that's where I started. And when we moved to Canada 5 years ago, I went full-fledged with it.
Amazing. That's awesome. That's a very humble beginning. It really is, when your family or people that you look up to bring you the inspiration to venture into something and then make it your own. That's inspiring. With that said, tell me a little bit about real estate. People think real estate is easy. Is it easy?
It is easy, but it's not simple.
Okay. So tell me, what do you mean by that?
First off, it is a sales job as a real estate salesperson. It's a sales job, and with that, it is very draining because you have to go through a lot of no's to get a yes, and it takes a toll.
Mm-hmm.
First thing is that, and second thing is that in when it comes to real estate construction and flipping, it's a lot about playing with your intuition because you're seeing something that's not there.
Right.
So you need utmost self-belief and knowing and connecting to the divine. I'm sorry, I'm sounding this, but then
Very spiritual.
connecting to the divine to know if you can work out the numbers with this. So it's mathematical and intuitive.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely an engineering background that's going there, mathematical and intuitive. So I definitely see that, which is great. So talk to me about you know the sales aspect of it, because obviously sales is not for everyone. You're an engineering background. I mean that is very different from
Introvert.
sales, right? An introvert, a mathematical. I saw some of those come in. So what does that mean? Given the fact, it's such a sales oriented role, and mentioned, and I want to pull on that string a little bit more. You mentioned it takes a toll.
Mm.
What do you mean by that? Tell other realtors who are inspiring to grow in their space. Tell others who are considering being a realtor, and others who just are struggling with it. Tell us from your perspective, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so if as an engineer, and I'm sure most of your viewers who are aspiring to be realtors are already in a job, we don't put ourselves out there every day and negotiate and sell ourselves. We are not trading, we are always trading our time with money, so it does not allow us to trade our values with money. When that comes into picture, you work with intangibles, and as somebody who is trading time with money, you're not working with intangibles. You don't know your value, you don't know your intangibles, things like trust, respect, feeling what the other person wants. All of this doesn't come into play when you're working on in a cubicle in a laptop.
Yeah.
And only when you call people like 30 calls a day or talk to 10 people, 10 families a day, that's when you hone that skill. And if you are even if you are an introvert or an extrovert, that does that takes a toll on you, because you are coming from a place thinking what the other person wants. And that is draining if you do it day in and day out. So it's very important for people in sales to create that mark in their head that it's going to be like this. I have to start thinking from the point of view what the other person wants, and it's going to be draining, but it is going to be rewarding. And there are boundaries where I don't bring that back inside me.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a lot there. Yeah, sales is one of those professions that are so overlooked in terms of their difficulty, but that are so draining, not only from a mental perspective, but also from an emotional perspective. It does require a certain level of resilience for you to be able to continue going on when
A lot of no's are there,
a lot of rejections, and that's part of the job that I think a lot of people outside the industry don't appreciate. It's a lot easier to, like I said, kind of get lost in the work, whether you're doing spreadsheets or you're doing CAD designs or you're doing graphics or you're in meetings where there's a guaranteed paycheck. But in sales, your output is 100% dependent on your ability to produce for yourself, and then deliver for your clients and over deliver so you can get repeat, upsell, cross sell, and referral opportunities, right? And that is not easy. You also mentioned the 30 calls or 10 meetings. That's an interesting KPI that I just picked up right away, right? So that's that's something a good realtor should be doing. If you're not hammering the phones, if you're not talking to people, if you're not talking to your book of business, if you're not building your book of business or your circle of influence, or you're cold calling, or you're knocking on doors, or you're going out and hosting events or going to events, it's gonna mean that you may have a paycheck now, but 2 months from now, 3 months from now, your pipeline dries up, right? So it's fascinating.
It's also one of those things that if you if you don't produce, if you think that I'm busy and busy is good, doing nurturing your current pipeline, it will referrals can only give you so much. But you have in real estate, especially as competitive a market in Ontario or maybe Dubai, you can't rely on your current pipeline. You need to have a marketing machine that feeds itself. And that is a challenge. And that cannot be done by a human. You need technology. You
Yeah.
need a team. You need AI.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that the the melange of the right recipe is Asan, because it gives you all of those. You can work with your team,
Yeah.
and there's cutting edge technology, and also there is AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where it's so true. It's really about the processes and the technology and the resources coming together to be a successful realtor in today's hyper competitive market, as you mentioned. You're going to have to use the latest tips and tricks of the trade, the technology that enables you to do what you do well, which is building human relationships, solving people's real estate needs. But it has to be in the background. It has to be there as a given. And I think that's where that's the vision behind Asan as well, where I wanted to be the word Asan in my language, and I'm from South Asia. It really means easy or simple. So I have used a little bit about me, and I'm sure if you guys are watching for the first time, but I've used KV Core, I've used Agent Locator, I've used Follow Up Boss, I'm certified in HubSpot, right? And I have access to all of those tools right now. And I've done inside sales, cold calling, lead generation, branding, social media, even help hosted events and event-based marketing for brokers in large 200, 300, 400 person franchises. Some of the biggest brands. But what I found was, even with all this technology, having access to Google Ads or having access to Facebook doesn't mean anything if it's not easy to use. And realtors are really people first professionals. That's the emotional side that you have to, become connected to. If the best realtors who in our customer base that use Asan use it maybe for 1 hour to 2 hours a day. Beyond that, they're out in the field, building developers, building inspectors, relationships, going out and knocking on doors, geo-farming the location, hosting events, meeting people, talking and showing properties, doing the real estate work. If you're becoming a specialist or a marketing geek or a geek on the system side, it's going to be very hard for you to do what you're supposed to be good at, which is real estate. The tool cannot be overly complex. It has to be cutting edge, but it has to be simple. And I think that is the true ingredient essence behind what a great system has to deliver for you.
And I think Google aced it with their GUI.
That's right.
And I see that Asan has aced it too.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks so much. I'm building the most intuitive and easiest and jam-packed system out there for busy realtor professionals out that are looking to scale. And it's one small feature at a time.
Absolutely. And it's going great places already.
Thanks so much. Okay. So, I learned a little bit about your background, where you came from, learned a little bit about some of the struggles, and with the role in real estate from your perspective. I want to learn a little bit more about your journey and real talk in a little bit more funnier way. And we do this with other agents as well. We ask some questions. This gives some perspective, and everybody learns a little bit as well from this. Okay, so it'll be a bit of a trivia, but I think we'll learn along the way as well. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So question number one. Okay.
Mhm.
What is the most embarrassing showing experience you've ever had?
This is really embarrassing. I think this stands out the most because I lost my client for this.
Okay. Let's hear it.
So this client I've been nurturing for a year. When he was ready to, when his numbers made sense, we started looking for homes. I think it was the first or second day that he walked through a house, and I thought that he was already out because I did not see him after 5 minutes. So I was just about to lock the house, and then hear him from the inside of the house.
Oh,
And
goodness.
then I opened the door, and then I say, "You're still inside?" He said, "Yes." I said, "What happened?" And he said, "I'm using the restroom." And I said, I said, "Okay." And then I locked the door, and very nicely I said, "We are asked to tell our clients not to use the restroom because it's a personal boundary for homes. Like, for
Right.
example, in my house, I don't want it to be used as a public
Yeah.
bathroom if people come and use it. I'm sure you understand." And I did not tell that to you earlier, so it's my mistake.
Right. That must have been super awkward.
And then he stopped. He started ghosting me and stopped
Oh
talking
yeah,
to me.
obviously. It's super embarrassed. He was embarrassed, I'm sure
He
as well.
was embarrassed.
I'll be embarrassed as well. Can you blame him? Sometimes you gotta go when you gotta go.
It's one of those things as a salesperson that I struggle with. I'm so real and have zero mental filters
Right.
to be tactical, but it's necessary. Sometimes I have to say it as it is. I can't escape it.
Right. Right. No, you got it. You gotta also be able to be respectful of other people's
Other
boundaries.
people's space, yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. Okay, so that was definitely embarrassing. Okay, it's definitely up there. I'm gonna have a voting list in terms of some of the more awkward ones with other agents I've talked about. I'll see where this ranks up as well. Okay, question number 2. What's the strangest request you've ever received from a client?
Okay, many strange requests.
Oh wow, okay.
Many.
That shows your seasoned expertise, right? Because you've been around the block.
I don't know which one to start. Dog poop or
Oh goodness. That sounds definitely strange. That's almost like embarrassing territory.
Yeah, so let me not go there because I've already reached that. So okay, before we close on a house,
Right.
it's not really ours because we have not paid for it, right? So we can't keep our stuff inside. But I
Right.
get requests all the time. We are our lease ending 2 days before. Can we keep our furniture inside the house?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's definitely
Or
strange.
a week earlier, okay, the day that we are closing is not auspicious, but we need to keep this thing, a spiritual thing, inside the house. And
Oh,
it gets so difficult for me to
yeah.
have that conversation with the other realtor. But this is where we understand what's important. So if it is something spiritual, I have to fight for my clients, and I do, and I get that in. But it's one of those weird things.
Yeah, I believe that's definitely a weird moment to have. Okay, so with that said, question number 3.
Mhm.
Share a moment where you thought, I can't
Mm.
believe I get paid to do this. And I'm
Every morning. I think I used to say that if you cut my body, you would get chocolate and coffee. But now I think you'll get homes. I was made to do this. I don't think I was made to do anything else.
it's amazing. It's so awesome when you've been able to kind of say you found your purpose. And it's awesome that you can make that statement so boldly. That's amazing. Okay. Question number 4. What's the biggest mistake you've made as a new agent that you can laugh about now? So this is one for some of the more starting out, budding agents and entrepreneurs. I'm sure they're gonna learn from this one.
So this is where being self-aware in a sales role comes, and so important.
Right.
I feel the biggest mistake, I will say the biggest mistake that I still regret
Right.
that I haven't done is starting a podcast.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So you think building a brand is very important?
Yeah, I feel because unless you don't have a brand, you do not have a business because it is not ongoing. It is still dependent on you,
Wow,
not your
that's
values.
powerful. Yeah, that is deep. And to be honest with you, that is also the same mistake that I had growing up in my business. First, it was what works. Now it's Asan, but I built the business through my personal relationships and over delivering for clients and word of mouth. Like every good entrepreneur does, you go ahead and get a customer, you convince them, somebody takes a chance on you, and then you deliver. But it's tied to your personality. You're tied to your person. The brand, building the value system, the name, where it's bigger than any one person, is what truly great empires are built on. And I think that is a very good piece of advice. And I
And
would agree with that 100%.
that's what that's what my next 10 years are going to be, on creating a legacy for my kids so that they can take over.
I do see you much more active with a lot of media and marketing on LinkedIn, especially. I see a lot of your brand building activities happening, and I think it's that.
It's because you're not on TikTok or Instagram or
It's
Snap.
okay. You've chosen a channel, and you don't need to be in every platform. You just
Yeah.
you choose on. You got to be there consistently, and I've seen you commit to it. And I've seen your updates come in regularly, and I think that's a good thing. It does have an effect. But it is also a long term. Brands are not built overnight. It does take a lot time.
Yeah, and for me, a millennial, it's always about instant gratification.
I think
And I
for
think,
everyone now, to be honest. But yeah, I agree with you.
yeah, so delayed gratification is something that I had to work on. It's not going to be overnight.
Yeah, it's not gonna be overnight. It's a long, long game. But that's how
It's a,
great.
it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I keep
Yes,
telling myself that.
that is exactly it. So, but we're conditioned ourselves to more sprints in gratification. So that's where the challenge is. So, a small story from my perspective, right? I don't know what kind of phone do you have?
iPhone.
iPhone. So I have an iPhone as well, and I'm sure there are a lot of agents out there and brokers out there that they love their Android devices. But iPhone is probably one of the biggest market caps in the world. iPhone being Apple, I think they're close to 3 trillion, or they've passed a couple of times. They've come down. They're hovering around that mark. 3 trillion. There are countries that are much smaller than that market cap. But for the first 10 years, even with Steve Jobs at the helm, and him getting the Time Magazine's Person of the Year award and what have you, it was nowhere near what it is now. But the first 10, 15 years, it kept flopping. In fact, it came to it was a political coup, and he got kicked out of the company, and then he re-engineered his comeback. But for 10 plus years, after having so much investment, after having so much being given to the world, selling and creating technology and pushing, it still wasn't there. It took 30 years before it became a category leader and became one of the most profitable companies. It still only has 30% of the market share. Android still dominates, but in terms of market cap, in terms of margin, in terms of awareness in the market, in terms
Because it's open software. Hello, Apple.
Apple is a closed system, right? So,
So that's what
100.
I tell myself and all the budding realtors too. It's the bamboo. You are a bamboo. It takes 10 years. It takes 2 years for the bamboo to start
That's right.
showing leaves. You
That's
got to water yourself every day. Feed
yeah,
yourself with all the information, all the knowledge,
that's
gain
right.
wisdom for it to show.
That is so true, and I think that is such good advice and such good perspectives, because it is so easy to expect so much in so little time. But to truly achieve a level of greatness, and greatness is different for everyone. It's relative. Like, I'm not saying I know an agent, and I want to see if I can get him on this podcast as well. But there's this agent that does this so well, and it's something called geo farming. And geo farming is really brand building in a specific market or a municipality for an agent. Okay,
I think I know who you're talking about.
there you go. So, and he does it so well. And I see him on the bus ads. I see that every house that's on sale, it's always his listing. And when I go and I'm on the Facebook app, I see his ads or others. When and I search Google anything, his ads pop up, and I haven't even been on his website, right? So everything from that area, buses that go in that region, he's dominated, and because of that, he always gets the listing for the municipality and that zone that he said, "Hey, this is my geo farming market." And that is powerful. And that's what exactly Apple does, but at a much bigger stage. The world is their oyster. So, and they have much more bigger budgets. But greatness is relative and it's good for both of them. For him, that specific market is the world. And I'm sure he does door knocking. He hosts events there. He goes in and he probably knows the neighborhood, the people by their names there, and they know him. And because of that, he's got all the listings, right? And that to me takes years to build, but then that is what true pipeline, true brand building is really about, right? And I think that is why what you said resonated so well with me. Okay, so last question, and then we're gonna get into some smaller, faster paced trivia. Um, Tell me about, we rely on AI, we rely on analytics and data, and I'm a big believer on that, okay? But I also believe in the human judgment. I believe in, there's some things that our mind picks up, subconsciously that sometimes we don't even know we picked up on. So silly thing. Sometimes I don't even know I'm hungry until my mind has already decided I'm already eating food. Like I've acted on the subconscious and made the decision and triggered it while I'm focusing on another problem. And there's things like that where we just do things on intuition. So tell me about a time when your intuition saved the day. And tell me if there's something that you did that you relied on your intuition more and then thought about it after. It's like, I wouldn't have done this logically, or this is not as logical as I'd like it to be, but I think it worked.
Interesting you asked this. Elon says that AI is going to take over the world and you have to be afraid of it because it is the one force that has the power to erase mankind. But I feel that it's not going to happen because what AI does not have is human instinct. And it is so special and so God-given that a human cannot create that in another entity like a robot, right? And I keep telling this to the next generation, my kids, that right now we are in a generation where we are told what to do and we are consuming data, we're consuming media so much. It has taken away our attention, and AI and the media has made our mindscape of what we are today. So the greatest strength that you will develop as a younger generation is to have to build your intuition today, because today's world is not made for you to think and to have an opinion or to have intuition of your own. And once you start doing that is when after 20 years, when their generation comes in the workforce, they are going to win. Kids who are not developing that right now, they might be succumbed to the unavailable workforce.
Yeah.
Today, to answer your question, I rely on intuition more than I rely on data. And being an engineer, let me tell you, that was the most difficult shift for me.
I believe it. That's insane. As an engineer saying that, by the way, fascinating insight. So I agree with what you just said in terms of it being a distraction. So I don't know if you know, I'm an instructor in colleges in Toronto. I teach marketing analytics and applied research and strategy. So when we do case study with ChatGPT, the ability to give multiple choices and short answers is dead. right? Because let's say if I go ahead and try to proctor it and tell them, hey, go, don't do it, it's just going to be a nightmare and saying, hey, you can't have access to the internet. But in the real world, everyone has access to Google. Everyone has access to their colleagues and friends. Everyone has access to, you know, AI, ChatGPT, or other variations of ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, what have you. And I started pivoting, and I started saying, okay, you know what? You guys have access to Google. Okay, here's a test. Here's, after I give the lecture slides and it's time for test, you guys have access to everything. It's an open book test, but you only have 1 hour. And if it looks like a chat bot wrote it, you'll get a 0. Because if I can get
Don't make it look perfect.
if I can get chatbots to look like they wrote it, why would I hire somebody for thousands of dollars? Why would I hire you, right? And as an employer, that's what you have to juggle. And the next generation will have to say, okay, if it looks like it's coming all from ChatGPT and there's no personal perspectives or your ability to demonstrate that you've actually studied the material, it's up to you. And to convince me that this is not a chatbot. So I would fail them on the first test. And then they would be like, oh, can we get a marketing? I'm like, hey, you guys have chatbots, you have Google, whatnot. And then they will all wake up and they're like, okay, all right, we can't use ChatGPT verbatim, because they were all, you know, after, they would try to change it and it would be like, okay, it would be like little pieces of it, you know, little edits that would make it look like chat. It wasn't, it was, but everyone had a pattern, same bullet points in different words, same sections. And like, I'm like, you guys didn't read the lecture material. And there'll be like 2 or 5 students out of a class of 40 or 50 that would actually read it. And apply it and showcase it, actually pull the material from the class and their notes and apply themselves. And those are the ones I would say, hey, these guys got it. Look at it. This is what a great example. And the next test, you know, they'll all be set straight. They'll use ChatGPT, but only as a reference, but then they will actually refer this, right, to the slides. And that's the idea. It is absolutely making us lazier. It is absolutely making us less intuitive. And more distracted, more dependent. And I think that's not necessarily a good thing. So there is something to be said about human intuition, that experiences that makes us who we are. And that's how we build relationships with other. That cannot be replaced.
Yeah, and especially in real estate sales where people are making their biggest purchase, it's all about feeling and trusting.
Right. That's
And
exactly.
there's so many real estate salespeople. So for you to make that connection with them is what is pivotal for your business.
Right. Exactly. Now we have AI in Asan. Okay. Don't get me wrong. I think there is a place for AI, but there's nothing that defeats the ability to make that human connection. Right. So use the AI as a tool, but go out there and meet your prospects, meet your contacts, shake hands, you know, attend events, you know, build that repertoire, build that experience. That the whole system is there for you to connect on an emotional level, for you to connect at a human level. And it's there to enable that. And as soon as you remove that from the equation, that ability to get that deal, the ability to get that listing, the ability to get that buyer lined up, it's just going to be that much harder.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. So thanks for that. That was a lot of lessons, a lot of knowledge bombs you shared there. So thank you. I'm sure the audience will definitely appreciate it. Quick rounds. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to do a lightning round. We're going to I'm asking silly questions about if this works for you. Okay.
Okay.
So it's a lightning round where rapid firing questions. Open house snacks. Yes or no?
No.
No. Okay. Staging or as is?
Staging.
Okay. All right. Excellent. There. I agree with that as well. First showing or last showing of the day, which one do you lean towards better?
First showing.
Okay. Calling or text messaging?
Calling is more effective, but I'm a millennial. I just text.
That makes sense. Okay. Professional photos or an iPhone pic?
iPhone all the way. No professional. Professional. Spend the money, guys.
That's right. That's right. What about weekend open houses or weekday?
weekend. I hate weekday open houses. Who
But
will walk through,
I
bro?
don't know. I don't know
Everybody's
if anybody
tired.
would, but I've seen weekday open houses. Okay, I'm like, what are they doing? But that's to each their own. Okay,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
there's a reason I haven't figured out and cracked yet. But that's it. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much, Meher, for being with us today. That was enlightening. I learned a lot.
I learned a lot too, and was very. I think it was a great conversation, and so many, so many experiences where I think are going to create value to your viewers.
I appreciate that. No, thank you. I hope so as well, and that's the idea. And I'd love to have you back. In a little bit. But what we'll do is we're going to start airing it, and then hopefully, you get a chance to share with your friends and family as well.
Definitely.
Okay. Thanks
Thank
so
you so
much.
much, man. Take care.